Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart is probably the only game to be worthy of the next-gen title, a game that is a magnificent spectacle, an 18-hour roller coaster of nothing but beautiful environments, mesmerizing creatures and animations, and bustling actions that will leave you in awe throughout your entire playthrough. This is my first Ratchet & Clank game, and I can tell you right now, it won't be my last. As someone who grew up with some guy in a green power suit slaughtering aliens. No, not you, the other one. I thought I wouldn't be able to keep up with this story, but for a franchise spanning 19 years and 15 games, it was a surprise to me just how easy this game's story was to follow. It's hard to believe that people had issues with this game, but they did. First of all, lots of people thought the price tag was pretty steep. For a game that only has around 18 hours of gameplay, which is true, yet people cry about getting a 90-hour game, Valhalla, for the same price. So people just need to decide what they want, what they think is actually worth $100. Needless to say, the game is a little short, but I feel like you get enough bang for your buck from the astounding narrative, beautiful backdrops, and chaotic action sequences. Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart is a fabulous game, but don't click off the video just yet. I still need to tell you why. Let's start off with arguably the first element of this game that absolutely hooks you as a player, the breathtaking visuals. I mean, even after watching the trailers, I still wasn't prepared for just how jaw-dropping this game is. Even after seeing the dimension shifts in the trailers, I still wasn't prepared for what it would actually feel like to experience it for myself. So much so, I'd say that even this video won't do the visuals justice. I can't stop my jaw from actually dropping as we seamlessly transition from one world to another. That feeling of astoundment for what I just witnessed. Sure, some people might argue this is a cheap party trick that's been done before, but I think they're missing the point. Never has a game done it to this scale. Never has a game made it look this good. By no means is having multiple dimensions that are interchangeable an original idea, but Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart is by far the best illustration of this concept. This game's remarkable transition from gameplay to cutscene and from cutscene to gameplay is so well executed, it never breaks your immersion. There are no loading screens, no fading, or no cuts. Whenever you transition from gameplay to cutscene triggers, it's a simple movement of the camera, and it works so goddamn well. In fact, when I landed on the first new planet, I didn't even realize the cutscene was over, and just stood there for a couple of seconds admiring the view, before realizing, hey, I actually can control the character here. Again, this isn't something we haven't seen before in other games, but like I said before, it's done so well that you can't not give this game recognition for it. But not everyone seems to agree. The review by Metro Games Central on Metacritic says, the game fails to leverage its technical achievements for anything more than a straightforward spectacle. To which, I agree. But is this really a bad thing? I mean, why do we have millions of dollars wasted on fireworks to celebrate the new year? Because spectacles, no matter how frequently we see them, are always entertaining and fun, if done well. And Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart spectacles are by far better than anything to come before it. This game's graphics, art design and world design are all exceptional. It's truly worthy of the next-gen title. Every time I landed on a new planet, I just had to stop and take it all in. It's the small little details you notice in the semi-open worlds that you have to explore, that just sell the believability of the worlds and the dimension as a whole. I've never seen more beautiful worlds than in this game. As always, there will be no major spoilers when discussing the story. The story begins with the evil Dr. Nefarious stealing the Dimensionator and using it to find a dimension in which he always wins. In this new dimension where Dr. Nefarious is known as the Emperor Nefarious, Ratchet meets the dimension's counterpart of himself, another Lombax called Rivet. Together, Rivet, Ratchet, Kit and Clank need to work together to stop the dimensions from colliding, and to stop the evil Nefarious from ruling over all dimensions. Don't worry, if that sounds a bit complicated, I can promise you it's not. For a story that takes place pretty much right after the previous game, this story requires no previous knowledge from the player. I went in not even knowing what the plot of the previous Ratchet & Clank game was, and I had no issues keeping up with the characters and story of Rift Apart. Sure, there are character nods here and there for those die-hard fans who get to see the other dimensions versions of their favourite characters. This could be a standalone game, and I would still hold the story in high regard. It has that classic Disney feel, a narrative of struggle and overcoming the odds, that has nothing short of an exhilarating ending. Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart has a solid story and keeps you immersed throughout. Rift Apart's combat is probably one of the elements that leaves me a little stumped. It has 20 completely unique and fun weapons for the player to use. Finding combinations of these weapons was so much fun. To see some wacky ones like the Rhino 8 or the Toxiary Sprinkler that turns enemies into plants. The amazing effects and different uses for all the weapons makes it an enjoyable experience, no matter what your playstyle is. And for those that like to experiment, the game gives you the tools to swap between everything you've unlocked on the fly. Pick and choose your weapons for whatever situation you're in. You could be some sort of necromancer summoning minions to do your work, or someone who likes to get up close and personal with the shield gun and then a shotgun. The combinations are endless, and finding guns that work well together make you feel like you've stumbled upon some sort of hidden secret. I absolutely love the variety of weapons you have at your disposal in this game. That's unfortunately where my praises for this game's combat system ends, because by around the halfway mark, you'll probably be sick of versing the same reskinned enemies that you've been facing for the entire first part of the game. The only thing that changes is the way that you use the environment and use rifts scattered around the combat stage to change positions or get you out of sticky situations. Unfortunately, the game does little to spice up the combat and kind of leaves you to have to experiment with weapons later on to get any sort of challenge or entertainment value from the combat. I think they missed an opportunity to make Ratchet and Rivet feel different, as playing through the game they share their weapon unlocks and traversal abilities. The game does nothing to separate them, apart from their obvious characteristics. I think if they made abilities exclusive to them, it would have made some cohesive experience that wouldn't get anywhere near as stale, anywhere near as fast. People would spend their time mastering both characters and the weapons at their disposal, rather than mastering their weapons and then be wondering what to do next. Needless to say though, the combat is solid and fun, only for those who are intrinsically motivated to try something new and test out the combinations. Overall, I'd say that Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart is an extremely good game that I would 100% recommend to returning players of the franchise and players who've never played a Ratchet & Clank game before. It's extremely enjoyable, and for the 18 hours or so of an on-rail spectacle, it's hard to say that I wasn't entertained. It's hard to deny the graphical prowess of the Rift Apart, and how it overshadows just about every other aspect of this game. The beautiful graphics and well-written narrative are enough to immerse you and push you past the somewhat mediocre combat system. The game has a real sense of nostalgia, even for the players who haven't touched the franchise before. The collectibles and childish charm make this a memorable game worth playing. Like always, if you enjoyed the review, please leave a like and subscribe, as well as let me know your thoughts down in the comments below.